and we will get started. So hi, everybody. My name is Pat. I am a co-founder and CEO of Empower. I'm so excited that you guys are here. It's been a while since we did our last webinar. I think our last webinar was in December 17. So it was last year. Okay, this year is a new start already. So I hope you are as excited as I am to have Maria. She is a hiring manager from Pay by Phone. If you guys don't know what Pay by Phone is, if you come to Vancouver, you will know because it's on the street anywhere you go. And really, I just wanted to thank you, Maria, in the beginning for spending this evening with us. Let me just also admit other people in. So when I get started, what I'm going to do today is we'll spend about 50 minutes for an actual content that Maria is going to share. And afterwards, say like about 15 to 20 minutes, we'll open up the floor to you guys to actually turn on your camera, come off mute, and actually network with Maria and ask your questions, okay? Without further ado, we have about almost 50 people now, so I'll get started. You guys can see my screen, correct? Okay, cool. All right, so I want to introduce you to Empower. So, I know that some of you already know Empower and have been to our webinar before, but what we do is we help international students get the job that they deserve. So I came to Canada as international student myself, and I can't believe time flies because I came in 2013. I've been in a work job market for about a couple of years, almost 3 years now. I just fell in love with this country. I think it's just so diverse and has a lot of opportunity. However, though, I do think that Empower has a really unique space that can touch international student lives. I think that international students are so awesome. You guys are here, but there's so many potential being undiscovered. So what we do at Empower is to help you guys get the job that they deserve, that you guys deserve. And how we do that is really through the power of the community, sharing the lived experience from our industry experts, our industry mentors. I first came here, I didn't know anyone, and I feel like that is really important if you want to job search in a new country, is to know the right people, to position yourself as a creative job seeker. So a few things that we do, we have the job search program. So that would be through the new boot camp that we have just recently launched a couple of days ago. And we have the mentorship program. We had 2 mentorship programs so far. And the online community. So if you are not a part of the public Slack group, please feel free to join. It's completely free. It's just where you would meet other like-minded, career-driven international students, so you can really further grow your network. So that is it about Empower. I'm very excited that you guys now get to know Empower. And I'll pass it on to Maria. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let her share. So, but before that, do you have any questions about Empower or anything at all? Okay, I'll take silent as a no. All right, so Maria, I'll give the floor to you. You feel free to share back your screen.
Sounds good. Thanks, Pat. Just gonna pull up my presentation. Okay. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight's webinar. As Pat mentioned, my name is Maria, and I will be your host this evening. And so tonight we will be talking about what it takes to get hired in tech, perspective from a hiring manager. But first, I want to give a proper introduction about myself. So my name is Maria, and I'm a software development manager at Pay by Phone. I majored in computer science, and I worked as a web developer for several years before getting into management. I now lead multiple development teams and have interviewed and hired various developers over the years. A quick tidbit, I'm also an immigrant, although I did have the privilege of growing up in Canada since the 90s. So I do know my way around here a little bit. And also, if you're not seeking a role as a web developer, software developer, that's okay. Most of my advice is applicable for anyone looking to break into the tech industry, no matter what point you are in your career. So summary of tonight's topics. We're going to go over how to present yourself to potential employers, how to analyze job postings, how to expand your network in COVID times, and finally, how to navigate the technical interview process. But first, I'm going to be sharing with you my experiences. First, as a job seeker looking to break into industry, and then as a hiring manager. Because over time, I've identified some key steps that have helped me land the job, and I've also seen these steps work for various others. So I'm going to be sharing them with you tonight. So let me first take you back to 2014. I started out my journey in the industry while living in Victoria, BC. For those of you who've been to Victoria, BC, it's fairly small, and our tech scene is even smaller. So picture this, I just finished university and I was hunting for my first full-time job. Sure, I had some co-op experience, but companies weren't really interested in a junior like myself. I had to find something though. I didn't really have a network, right? I just had some classmates from school, maybe a few people from my job during my co-op. No one who could really hook me up with a hiring manager. And networking was kind of daunting, right? So I wasn't crazy about that idea. So it was a hard market to break into, given that context. And so what I did is I would find contract jobs. I'd go from job to job, doing various contract roles, front end development, some UX design, with various companies in Victoria. You'll see here, these are mostly startups. There is a college that I worked at. If you're familiar with Victoria, Camosun College is one of their biggest colleges in the island. So I did okay, but I wanted to find something permanent. I wanted to find full-time work. And so let me take you to my timeline. So you can see that I started 2014, and throughout the years, I've changed jobs quite a few times, starting when I moved to Vancouver in 2017. I changed jobs for various reasons, either due to layoffs or finding a new job with better pay or a promotion. But I quickly found out that these certain steps that I'll be sharing with you tonight is what's helped me find a job each and every time with about less than 2 weeks turnaround time. So anytime I wanted to find a job, I would apply what I knew that I'll be sharing with you tonight. And it's helped me find a job within 2 weeks or less. So let's get into what you should be doing. First, I want to start off with how to present yourself. It sounds pretty simple, but I'm not talking about physical appearances. Instead, I'm talking about how to stand out against competition. So let's face it, tech is a very competitive industry. First impressions are everything. So if you start off on the wrong foot, it may ruin your chances for landing that job you're interested in. So how do you make sure your first impression is a good one? By nailing down your introduction. So in the job hunting process, you'll be repeatedly introducing yourself to various people. You need to know what to say at the drop of a hat. You want to keep in mind, how do you want to come across? How do you want potential employers to see you? I'm going to keep reiterating this, but a solid introduction is everything. Let's quickly take a look at what not to do when you're talking to hiring manager. So I know some of you have joined this event because I've shared it on my LinkedIn. I have a wide network on LinkedIn. So what I like to do is when I'm hiring for a role in my teams, I post it on LinkedIn. And so there was a time when I did this, and the following day I received this message. Hello, Maria. I'm ready to join senior software developer from remotely. Thanks. So when I received this message, a few things came to mind. First, I wondered, did this individual read the job posting? Because we don't accept candidates who aren't local to the Greater Vancouver area. Second, who is this individual? There's no introduction to their message. Third, their choice of wording could have been improved. It sounds like they are confident they were already given the job. So what can we learn from this? Again, driving home that point, introduction is everything. And it doesn't hurt to read the job posting. So what should they have said? Well, if they had been practicing their introduction, they could have used that. It would have given a much better impression. And this would have been a perfect time for them to use their elevator pitch. Have you heard of an elevator pitch? It's a short introduction of no more than 30 seconds to any potential employer to tell them who you are, what you do, what makes you unique, and why you're qualified for the role. So why does this matter? Because in the job hunt process, you're constantly meeting potential employers. You need to capture their interest quickly. The best way to do that is by sticking to your elevator pitch. So let me give you an example. Hi, my name is Maria. I'm a software development manager at Pay by Phone. In my free time, I volunteer with various organizations like Empower. I'm also the founder of a community called Token Techie Latina, where it teaches individuals how to break into tech and how to manage their personal finances. That was less than 30 seconds, right? If it's longer, then the listener will start losing interest. So what are you going to remember from my intro? Probably that I'm pretty busy. So practice your elevator pitch until you're sick of your own voice, and then you'll know exactly what to say next time a hiring manager says, "Why don't you tell me about yourself?" Introspection. Presenting your best foot forward requires some exercise. You need to spend some time doing some introspection. So what is introspection? It's the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. By doing this, you will get in touch with your mental and emotional state. But we're going to apply this with what I'm going to suggest in the next slide. You want to apply that when you're identifying your strengths and weaknesses. Again, I'll use myself as an example. I'm a people person. I can initiate and carry a conversation with anyone. Doesn't matter the situation. But what am I bad at? I tend to freeze up during rigorous technical interviews. So think about whiteboarding on the spot in front of a panel of interviewers. I don't know anyone who thinks that's a cakewalk or doesn't get nervous at the thought of that. So how does knowing my strengths and weaknesses help? It allows me to frame exactly what I need to improve on. So in my case, I would excel in the panel interviews where I talk about my leadership experience. But on the technical interviews, I would need to practice more in problem solving, whiteboarding, etc. This would also decrease the likelihood of freezing up in front of others. So let's look at an example that may be closer to your situation. As an international student, you may be worried about your English not being up to par. So you may feel like your English at its current state is a weakness. It may be not. But I recommend practicing with a friend, having a mock interview, just sitting down with them, and you don't really necessarily have to have a script. Just make sure you have a dialogue and you're comfortable introducing yourself and having that conversation flow, because that's what hiring managers look for. We're open to hiring international students, people who are newly arrived to Canada. We just look for whether their English is at a certain level, because at the end of the day, we need to communicate with you and make sure you understand and that we can understand you. So what I recommend doing is practice, practice, practice. Again, practice with a friend on a Zoom call or practice by yourself at your own computer. A trick that I do is record yourself on video when you're doing a presentation, and then just rewatch it, play it back and see, where are you slipping up? Do you make sense? Are you being articulate? On to the next. Networking. So you've nailed how to present yourself in the best light. Cool. Now, how do you find these potential employers, especially during COVID times when events in person aren't allowed? What I do is use LinkedIn. You've probably heard of LinkedIn. So make sure you're using it properly. In your LinkedIn profile, you should be informing your network that you're searching for a job. So this isn't a time to be shy. If there's anything we've learned from this pandemic, it's to communicate openly with the world via social media. Countless of people have suffered job loss over the last year, which is completely unfortunate. But it's shown us that there's no shame in reaching out to your network and saying, hey, I am in need of a job. Does anyone know anyone? Can anyone help me out? At least share this post so I can get a wider reach. You have a network, so use it. You also want to brag about your accomplishments. So again, don't be humble. This isn't the time to be humble. You're searching for a job. So note down any awards that you received, talk about your volunteer experiences or any cool projects. If you are on the dean's list at university, put it on your LinkedIn. Don't hold back. Let's look at an example. So this is my LinkedIn profile. And maybe I'll just take a quick second here to say, if anyone's not connected to my LinkedIn already, if you want to contact in the tech industry in Vancouver, I know a lot of people, reach out. I'm happy to chat. You can find me at Maria B, pay by phone, the only Maria there, pretty sure. But again, looking at the LinkedIn profile, you want to update your profile status to looking for opportunities. This is going to let recruiters know that you're available. You can do that here. You also want to update your headline, something that'll grab people's attention and engage with your network. So you can do that here. You also want to update your summary. So remember your elevator pitch. Apply something similar to your summary. Let whoever checks out your profile be able to get to know you within seconds of reading your summary. Next, we'll look at creating connections. Creating connections in your industry is vital to breaking into the industry or landing a new job. So how do you make new connections in a virtual world? Think of any companies that you're interested in. Maybe it's Shopify, Amazon, Microsoft, or Pay by Phone. Check out those companies on LinkedIn. Review who works in the kind of role you'd like to apply for. If you're a web developer, chances are you want to look at the engineering department. You want to see who's VP of engineering, who's director. You may want to contact them. And again, this is the elevator pitch. It keeps coming back to this, but once you nail that down, it's going to help you so much. You can use your elevator pitch in the message you send them. Let them know you're interested in a position at a company. But remember to keep it short. You want to respect their time. You don't want to give them a big blob of message, but you also don't want to send them the little, hello, I'm ready for, you want to, there's an in-between. And after you practice a while, you'll nail it. Make sure your message is polite and well worded. And again, if you're worried about rejection, the worst they can do is ignore your message and you move on. Another feature that LinkedIn has is the follow feature. So for some of us, we don't feel comfortable messaging people we don't know, and that's completely fine. So why don't you use the follow feature and interact with the people that you want to connect with? So for example, if you were looking at Shopify and you follow the VP of engineering, yeah, maybe you're shy, you don't want to message them, but why don't you interact with the posts they put up on their feed? Why don't you comment on it? Maybe after a while, they'll start noticing your name pop up more and more and think, oh, I know this person. And maybe eventually you'll build up the courage to say, hey, feel like I've known you a little while. Can I ask you a favor, or can I ask you some questions about a certain role at the company? And again, remember, you're building rapport by interacting with their content. Another thing to keep in mind. Referrals are a powerful thing. Have you ever replied to a job and never heard back? Or wondered why? If you have a referral, you have a contact within a company that can help you get insight as to why you never heard back from the recruiter or the hiring manager. Did you know that candidates who are referred are hired 55% faster than those hired through a recruiter site? So I've referred countless individuals to the companies I worked at over the years. I used to work at bench accounting, and I still refer a lot of people to them because they are excellent people, and because I worked there, I know a lot of people. So it's just great keeping those connections wherever you work. And again, a pay by phone, I refer people to pay by phone. And if they ask me, oh, do you know where I left off in the interview process? I can simply ask the recruiter, hey, do you know where so-and-so is? Are they moving along or they were rejected? I get some insight, and then I can go back to you and say, this is the status of your application. So it helps, right? Because I know we've all been there. We've applied to a job and never heard back. And that, it's not the best feeling. So just another example of the power of referrals. I was talking about my role at bench accounting. I got that role because I had a connection in the company. I had what's called an informational interview with someone who their team was looking for an engineering manager. So I went out for coffee with them and asked them questions about the company, the job, and the team. And then, of course, I ended up getting that job. But I'm sure having that connection there did give me a leg up over the competition. So let's quickly touch on what's an informational interview. This is a great way to create connections and get a referral when you reach out to someone on LinkedIn. So again, if you're not comfortable talking to someone, sending them your intro, you can simply say, hey, I'm looking for a role, I'm experienced in this industry. Do you mind if I ask you some questions over coffee? You know, some people are open to it, no matter what level they are and no matter how busy they are. Some people like myself were open to such messages. Again, of course, if they reject you, the worst thing they can do is ignore your message. Organizations and groups. So job hunting can be a lonely experience, especially if you're new to a city and you don't know anyone. While you're searching, why not join groups of individuals who have similar interests or in the industry you want to break into? I found success by joining multiple meetup groups. I've also met mentors and made friends with people through these groups. So this past year alone, I've joined various organizations and communities geared towards helping individuals break into the tech industry. By joining a group like this, you immediately expand your social circle and learn about new opportunities as they pop up. So mentorship and programs. Another secret to expanding your network is by joining an organization that offers a mentorship program. So if you're newly arrived to Canada and you're looking to break into tech, and if you're seeking a mentor, then YWCA has this great program called Tech Connect, where to pair up women who are new to Canada with women who are established in their careers, hoping to give back to the community. And of course, as Pat said, Empower is also a great organization. I've been with them for a little while and I can only attest to they really are passionate about helping international students. So I would recommend checking out their mentorship program as well. They pair you up with a mentor who's, again, established in their career and can give you guidance. This is an excellent way to expand your network. Depending on who you're paired up with, they can expose you to their network. Let's move on to the job hunting. So building a network won't happen overnight, so you may not see results quickly. However, in the meantime, you can still apply to jobs. In this section, we'll discuss how to prepare your resume, analyze job postings, and what a hiring manager looks for in a resume. Deciphering a job posting. A job posting should not be taken too literally, meaning if you don't meet 100% of the criteria, it's not necessarily a deal breaker. The hiring manager has an idea of what they're looking for, and they won't know it until they meet you. Have you heard of the statistic that women don't apply to jobs that they're not 100% qualified for? I'm not here to tell you why that is, because that's a much longer discussion. I'm just here to tell you, as a hiring manager, don't do that. If I just called up the candidates who were 100% qualified, I probably wouldn't have hired as many people as I have. I've called back people who have been qualified maybe 50% to what I was looking for. Again, you really want to apply and let the hiring manager decide whether or not you're fit for the role. Don't make that decision by yourself. Although I will say one area to look out for is the years of experience. If you are a new graduate and you apply to a senior role, how realistic is it that you'll get a call back? That's the outlier to what I just said. You don't want to discriminate yourself from a job posting, but you do want to be aware of the years of experience you're looking for, because usually they're looking to replace someone who had those amount of years. So they want to have an equal replacement. If you just start out in the industry and you apply for a senior role, chances are slim that you will receive a callback. So again, the title in the role is very important. So there's junior, intermediate, senior, but you have to keep in mind it means different things at different companies. A job posting exists to express the need of an opening within a team and a set of skills that's required. That's it. Make sure not to rule yourself out and let the hiring manager decide if you're qualified. Let's look at keywords on a job posting. Now, this may be more relevant because, again, I've been a developer. I'm a development manager. So I'm going to keep using terms from the development world. But is there a recurring theme in the job posting? Use the keywords as a guide study for your interview. So for example, if you're a web developer and you come across a job posting that says you need to be proficient in React, then you might want to brush up on your React for interview. But keep in mind the job title and the keywords may not match. So take note of what the job description says. Is the job description clearly conveying what you will actually be doing at the job? And is it interesting? Is that something that you want to go for? Or does the job posting just include a bunch of buzzwords, but it doesn't really necessarily say anything? If it's a latter, it might be a red flag. Next, we'll look at preparing your resume. So regardless of whether or not you have any industry experience, you need to have a resume prepared before you start your job hunt. Your resume should follow the basic format. It should include your full name, phone number, email address, job experience, with the most recent experience at the top, along with the dates you worked, as well as education experience. You need to keep it concise, and you also want to have a results-oriented resume. So what do I mean by that? You probably have, each and every one of you probably have a resume ready, but you may have fallen into the pattern where you're talking about your day-to-day duties, and they're usually in bullet points. So instead, you want to provide a description of what you've done in your previous role, whether it's a co-op or not. You want to give tangible examples and tie them to results. So for example, as a developer, you could say, when I refactored this service, it performed 15% better. It was faster, it's more reliable. You want to give metrics to the work that you've done. You want to give results. You don't just want to say, I would log onto my computer, I'd write code, I would deploy. It's, they can read between the lines. They know that's the kind of thing you would do. They want to see results. What kind of impact did you have in your last role? Another tip is having your friend proofread your resume. You may have heard when you're always staring at one thing, you're writing it out. You may need to take a break and have someone else look at your resume. Because after a while, it may just be, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, but you're writing out the same thing and you might just start looking at the screen and seeing it's all gibberish. You may just need someone to just proofread it for you and make sure it looks good. I'll share with you what I look for in a resume. So let's pretend one of you, is a senior developer in your home country. You want to become senior developer in Canada. I'm going to tell you, because I'm hiring for a senior developer now, what I would look for in your resume. Now, first I'll address, depending on the company that I work for, some companies are able to sponsor and others aren't. So first I look to whether or not the candidate is eligible to work in Canada. So I want to make sure what their status is. Are they a citizen? Do they have PR? Do they have visa, etc.? If my company is not able to sponsor you, then unfortunately I'm not able to proceed with the application. But sometimes you don't know that and you just get a rejection. So what do I look for? Their status, are they eligible to work in Canada? I also look at whether or not they're local to Vancouver. My current workplace does not allow for remote workers outside of the greater Vancouver area. So if someone living in a different region or a different country applied, then I would have to reject the application. Before diving into a candidate's experience, I skim through the dates. How long have they been working? I do this because I need to understand how much experience to expect from them. Most often, I'm looking to hire a seasoned professional and I need a certain number of years. If I'm hiring a graduate, then I'm very explicit about that in a job posting. Let's talk about the interview process. So you've received a callback and they want to proceed with your application. Congrats. Before you start, let's not celebrate too hard. Let's make sure you're prepared. So what's a breakdown of the typical interview process? There's an initial review. So once you've applied, a hiring manager reviews your resume. Once they've given the green light to your resume, they coordinate with the recruiter and then they call you. After that, if you pass the recruiter call, they do a skills assessment interview. And finally, a panel interview. Now again, these steps may vary depending on the company you're applying to. Some companies like Amazon have a crazy amount of steps, but for the companies I've worked at, we usually just have 4 steps, which are laid out here. So the initial review. At this point, you've already applied to the job, and the hiring manager has pulled up your resume. The review begins. Now we've just talked about what a hiring manager looks at in your resume. They decide they want to get to know you more, so they tap the recruiter to proceed with the screening call. So what can you expect from the recruiter screening call? They want to understand a few things before they move you along. They want to get to know you. What's your story? Why are you interested in applying to the company? What can you share about your previous work experience or education? They're also gauging your enthusiasm for the job. They want to hear you're excited for the opportunity. If you sound indifferent or casual about it, it could be a red flag for us. The recruiter wants to know how comfortable you are speaking English. Goes for any candidate, whether or not they're an international student. They also ask you about your salary range. Each job does have a salary range. So if what you're asking for goes over their range, chances are your application ends there. However, we all have heard the tip. When a recruiter asks for a salary range, just ask them right back, what is your range for this role? It's an easy way to sidestep that. And just keep adamant, no, what's your range for this role? And just keep trying that. But if you do give a number that's over the range, no matter how good you are, sometimes they have to reject your application because we do have a budget. Skills assessment. No matter what the role is, there's usually a stage in the interview process where your skills are tested, whether it's through an assignment or an in-person or virtual evaluation, like a technical interview. This stage may be the most important in the interview process. They need to know that you can do the job and that you have the skills required for it. If your resume lacks too much experience, a manager may still want to interview you and see how you do at the skills assessment stage to confirm whether or not you're competent enough to do this job at this level in your career. So some tips for you. If it's an assignment, take your time with it. You don't ever want to rush it. If they send you an assignment, it's a coding assignment, and they say you have 2 days, and I send it to you on a Monday, always ask, could I have an extension? Or if you go into the interview process and you know this company typically gives an assignment, you just let them know, I'm juggling full-time work, I'm juggling school, would it be possible to get an extension? And then usually they're able to accommodate, and then they'll send it to you on a Friday afternoon. So what about the panel interview? This is a stage where you need to ensure you put your best foot forward, as this interview will make or break your application. So the skills assessment stage is really important. But say you pass with flying colors. If you tank the panel interview, it doesn't matter how smart you are or how well you did with the skills assessment. This may ruin your chances in your application. Now, again, it depends on the company, but in my company, every team that I lead, culture fit is so important. But I'm going to break up this interview into 4 stages. Greeting, introductions, technical questions, and behavioral questions. I always make sure I'm on the call early, and so if the candidate shows up, we can have a casual conversation. So when I'm interviewing, I set up a Google Meet chat, and then I log on a few minutes earlier. Sometimes a candidate, as showing up to any interview, you want to show up early, because we all know showing up late never looks good. And so when they show up early, none of the other interviewers are there, and it's just me and a candidate. I always make it clear that, I'm not some scary boss lady. I'm pretty chill. I'm pretty relaxed. I just want to get to know you. I make sure they know very well this is just a conversation. Because that's all an interview is, it's a 2-way conversation. You're also judging the company if they're a good fit for you. But from the moment you enter the call, I'm observing everything you say or do, because I want to know if you'd be a good culture fit. Are you polite? Do you greet every interview on the call? How do you talk about yourself? Do you openly share? Are you quiet? Do you make small talk, or do you wait to be asked a question? Now, there's no right or wrong answer here. Again, it really depends on a team dynamics. And that's what makes this interview really tricky. I've interviewed at some places where the team, they aren't social at all. They're super quiet. They seem very strict, and it just wasn't my vibe at all. I enjoy teams who actually, the individuals care about each other, care about chatting, care about, just what they're up to outside of work. And so when I'm asking you questions in this interview, I want to see how articulate you are. Can you convey your point concisely, or do you go on and on and on without really answering the question? Now, if you don't know the answer to a question, I want to see, do you lie about it, or are you honest and do you say, I don't know? Because that's completely fine. If someone were asked a question and they said, I don't know, I don't dock marks for that. Instead, I kind of impressed with their honesty. So interviews are hard, and we understand you may be nervous and you may not be your best self during an interview, and that's fine. We always give some leeway for that. But we only have 1 hour to make the judgment call. So we want to know, do we want to work with this person? Are they skilled enough? Would they be a good culture fit? What level are they at in their career? Can we help them grow here? What to expect after an interview? So usually after the candidate leaves the call, the other interviewers and we debrief on how the interview went. How we do it in my teams, I let everyone have an equal say. I like to do a thumbs up or thumbs down, or just a fist if you're neutral. And then, so I do a countdown. We do our thumbs up or down or neutral. And then if anyone has a thumbs down, then it's an automatic no. But we do hear out the reasoning for each and every thumbs down or neutral or thumbs up. Afterwards, I go to the recruiter and I let them know my decision. Usually I pay by phone at least. It's pretty quick. I've had interviews that happen at 1 p.m. on a Friday, and at 3:30, the recruiters called up the candidate and said, oh, we'd like to offer you this role. It depends on a company, but don't worry if it's been a few days and you haven't heard back. Some companies, the turnaround time isn't that quickly. Things come up. Whether or not you do get the role, the recruiter should be reaching out to you. But I know realistically not every company does this. You make an automated rejection letter. It's not always an actual person messaging you saying, unfortunately, we decided to go with someone else. I do recommend asking for feedback, because as you go through the job hunting process, you want to get better and better each and every time. So even if it's a rejection, just ask, thank you. Can I get some feedback, or can I talk to the hiring manager and get some feedback? Some companies allow for that. I definitely recommend it. So that's it for my presentation. I hope I shared some tips that were new or helpful. Any questions from anyone?
I have a question. For non-profit organizations that you had mentioned, YWCA, Peacemakers, there was a third one that I missed. Could you, I guess, pull that up again, please?
Sure. Let me go back to that slide. Oh, yes. So the other one is a new one called Belongest, and we actually have some of the members here. As I was saying, that's something that I'm working on the side. I'm trying to, as a woman of color myself, I'm trying to help advocate for diversity in tech. So that's something I'm working on with a couple of people on this call, actually. It's nothing like Empower or YWCA. It's completely separate. We focus more on you've broken into tech, you're doing well, or you're having some struggles. We're here to help you out. And we also touch on personal finance. Because once you're in tech in Canada, you're making good money. And I've experienced this, picking up those paychecks. What do I do with my money? I come from humble beginnings. I was an immigrant. I didn't have much money growing up. So what do I do? So I've kind of created Belongest to kind of teach others, kind of share my journey to money management, building my career in tech.
Also, a follow-up question to that, Maria. Maria here. I see that in the introduction here, it says that you're a hiring manager, but on your LinkedIn it says that you're a software development manager. So how are you a hiring manager because you're a software development manager, because you manage that group of people or whatever you manage? I'm just trying to understand, learn from a hiring manager title on this, I guess, seminar today.
That's a great question. So yes, part of my duties as a software development manager is hiring. And so I lead a few teams of developers, and so I'm actively hiring for senior developers for one of my teams. So it's about, depending if I'm hiring, but when I'm hiring, I can expect about 30% of my time working with the recruiter, looking for candidates out there on LinkedIn.
Thank you. So, Alan, I know that you pop off mute to ask questions. Do you have any questions? Anyone who would like to ask questions, feel free to just type in the word Q in here, and then we'll go by the list, okay? Alan, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question. Hi, thank you, Maria. I thank you for the amazing talk today. My name is Alan. I'm a software developer for software development agency. I have 3 years of experience. I have worked with dozens of programming language, including ASP.NET or React. And I have also prepared interview question on LeetCode before. I'm wondering, with my skill and experience, do you think having a trial phase for, like when I interviewing, a trial phase for my salary during my probation would be a good way to break into a big company like Microsoft, Amazon, or Pay by Phone, and afterward we negotiate again, because my education is in business technology management and it's not in computer science. So I'm wondering if having a trial phase and then we negotiate afterward would be a smart way to break into it. Like have a chance to break into it.
So trial phase, I don't know of any companies, at least the ones I've worked at, who do trial phases. I do think though, if you have different skills and that you can prove that you are a skilled web developer, if you have a GitHub repo, you have projects you can show off, you don't necessarily need a computer science degree. You know, I recently hired someone who's very talented who does not have a computer science degree. It's kind of the old school way of doing things. You know, I'm very open to candidates who come from unconventional backgrounds and just picked up developing and they're actually really good at it. So
Yeah.
I think that's the trend nowadays, that hiring managers are looking outside the computer science degree. But as for trial phase, I don't think that's really a thing as far as I know.
I see. Thank you. I do have a few years of experience, so I think it would definitely help. Thank you.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I didn't quite hear your exact skill set, but we can chat on LinkedIn. If you have any more questions, I can redirect you some companies that may be looking for your skill set.
Oh, that would be amazing. Thank you so much, Maria.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We have a question from Daria. So is it okay to invite recruiters to connect on LinkedIn after you apply for a job, or is it considered stalking? Or is it better to follow? So do you have any suggestions there, Maria?
Yeah, I think it's completely fine to connect with a recruiter on LinkedIn. Where I personally draw a line is I find it interesting when you apply for a job and then you connect with the hiring manager on LinkedIn. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I always think it's a little interesting. Maybe overly confident. I don't know.
I do that all the time. I send a LinkedIn connection to everybody who I talk to along the way of the job search process. Because if, you know, they have to know what your visibility is online as well, and then that sometimes helps make a decision. So I would really recommend following up or even just connecting with them on LinkedIn after you have like your first phone interview.
Yeah, at least have the first conversation with the hiring manager before you start adding them on LinkedIn and everything.
Yeah.
I just know I've had those requests and I've been kind of surprised. And then I've had to reject them and it felt kind of weird because they were interacting with my content. But even if let's say you apply and I had to reject you for whatever reason, connect, and then it's much, the awkward elephant in the room is out, I can help you out.
Good one. Another question is from Prerna. I'm so sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly, but do you have any tips for psychometric tests as part of the interview process?
Oh, similar to those like Myers-Briggs.
I think so, yeah. So kind of personality tests that you have to go through in the interview.
That's so interesting. I don't know why companies send that out. I really don't have any advice on that. I think it's interesting, right? Those tests. But as for hiring someone, I mean, I like the fact that I can hire people with different personalities. They don't have to be all NTSJs or whatever. We can be different kind of personalities as long as we get along on the call and during work. I don't put much weight into those kind of tests. And I don't think it makes sense to reject candidates if they don't necessarily have the same values that you're looking for. Personally, I see those tests kind of trick questions because you always want to, you never know what's right or what's wrong. So, but yeah, I don't have any advice for that. Sorry.
All right. Prerna, if you have any more questions about that, we can connect you with someone who might know more about this type of test. I personally don't have a lot of experience in that area either, but love to help where I can, okay? What else? Sorry, Bobby, I'm gonna skip over you for a second and to go over others questions below first, and then we'll come back to you, okay? Okay. Okay, so I have a question from Karen. I have 3 years of work experience as a web developer and business analyst involved in requirement gathering and analysis. Do we have these kind of opening which are basically concerned with business analysis? So I guess to ask the question again, it's do you have any opening for business analyst type role currently?
Not right now. So I understand business analysts over the last few years, the job market for them, at least from what I've seen, is kind of dwindled, and instead it's become more product management focused. I know they're two separate things, but the business analysts I've worked with in the past have become product managers. It's just the way the market has gone. And so I know there are some companies who could still be hiring business analysts. I just don't know of any personally. Pay by Phone is hiring product managers.
Yeah. I can share a little bit because I also work I work for TELUS. So we have some business analyst role still at the company. And then most of the time it's really what you said, like gathering, requirements, working across different teams. You have to make sure that you look at different companies' business analyst job position directly, because sometimes they do completely different thing. So yeah, that was a good question of like, is it actually concerning business analysis? Like, I don't think it's everything is business analysis. It's mostly really coordination and gathering requirements, making sure the need is met from different teams. So all right, who else do I have a question from? I know that Singyu. Do you want to ask your question? Not sure if I get your questions correctly. Okay. All right, I'll take silent as a no, I guess. Oops. Okay, Hasimran, do you want to actually ask your question directly?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so I just moved from Surrey to Vernon, BC. It's near Kelowna. My major was computer science. I'm good in coding and everything. Even I was a freelancer at freelancing.com. I made a lot of applications and softwares there as well. But actually, I don't have any experience. I just have a diploma for 2 years. Having a really hard time getting in the tech industry. With everyone looking for a at least 3 years or 2 years experience. I have nothing. I just have a diploma, but I know skills. I have skills. I can make a app, a game, anything. Um, but I can't get a job just with that. So what are your advices for me?
Hmm. That's a good question. And when I saw you were from Vernon, I was wondering what's the job market like over there? Because
Yeah, actually, right
it
now
must be
there's no
difficult.
jobs here.
Hmm.
But so I'm just trying to migrate from here to Winnipeg because there are kind of IT jobs there. So I thought I just should get any way just to get in a tech industry so that I can start gaining experience. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend the option that I discussed, getting in touch with an organization like Empower or one that offers mentorship programs. Now, I keep saying Empower, they're not paying me to say this. This is a genuinely
Yeah.
solid, great community, but they hook you up with professionals. So, like myself, for example, who we can actually spend time to give you proper advice tailored to your situation. Because I could be
Mhm.
throwing out a few ideas to you and they may not stick, but I think this warrants a proper conversation, a sit down with someone who's experienced in the industry. So try that, or again,
And
try,
one
you
more
can message
thing,
me on LinkedIn, but I do recommend putting yourself out there and joining a community with lots of people like Empower.
I think this fact just keep on in my mind that I just have a diploma. If I can get a bachelor's later, it's just an entry ticket for IT job. I just feel like that. Is it real or like people prefer people with bachelor degrees, or like it's just a myth?
Mm.
So you don't necessarily need a 4 year bachelor degree. If you have the means, if you're able to, another option is Lighthouse Labs or another web development boot camp.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for this help.
You're welcome. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, we have a question from a few people. We have a question from Mike Wheeler.
Mick.
Sorry.
This is my old friend Mick.
Oh, Mike, would you like to ask your
Yeah,
question?
I'm just trying to come on camera right now.
Hey Mick. Mick and I go way back. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Hello.
Hi. So I'm asking this actually for a friend of mine who could make it your thing tonight. She's in software development program and stuff like that. I know you briefly touched on the whole nervousness during interviews. I happen to know that especially during panel interviews, she has a lot of struggle with that. Do you have any ways or any like tips or tricks to help out trying to either break the ice if panel interviewers tend to be a little less, open, or to feel a little bit less nervous before it?
Mhm. That's a great question. So when I go into interviews, I always think to myself, this is a two-way conversation. It's just a conversation. You're judging them as much as they're judging you, right? So if you
Mhm.
don't like the fact that they're quiet and they seem strict, you could use that to kind of psych yourself up and think, you know what, maybe I'll say no to them instead of they could say no to me. Kind of psych yourself up a bit.
Okay.
And also, what I do when I get nervous is I make bad jokes. I try to make people chuckle, and just it brings this human aspect in the interview. Oh, they're very serious, but they chuckled at that. They're humans after all. And or even just if it's your style, say, you know what, I'm a bit nervous. And if they're, chances are these guys who are interviewing you aren't jerks. So they're gonna maybe smile and be like, that's completely normal. We understand you're gonna be nervous. I've hired candidates who are kind of shaking. They're so nervous, and we say it's completely cool. Like, take a moment if you need to. It's fine.
Thanks so much, Maria.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, next question is from Yongnak. Does Pay by Phone have any sales and account manager role that is not technical? What kind of clients do account manager deal with, if there's any? I'm interested in this as well because I love to know more about like how the business side actually is from Pay by Phone.
Yeah, let me actually pull up their job posting page because I'm the development organization. We're so siloed from sales and everything. So it doesn't look like we're hiring any sales people. But basically, if you are working in the sales department, Pay by Phone, you are contacting our clients, and they're called vendors. Our clients are cities, and they're all across the world. We are in North America and Europe, all throughout Europe, really. And so you're interfacing with, for example, Miami, there's the city of Miami municipality or whatever, and you're talking to them. You're setting up agreements with them and like rates, because parking isn't the same rate every city across the world. So we charge differently depending on the region, the city, the country. So that's the kind of thing you can expect working sales with Pay by Phone. I don't really know much more than that, unfortunately. We're pretty isolated from other departments because, we're all on Slack. I haven't actually met anyone from sales. But I hope that helps a bit.
Awesome. We actually do have quite a bit of time because I know that I set this up for 6:30, but let's see how many more questions we actually going to get through. And if you guys have any more questions, pop them in here. Maria, you doing okay with time? Do you need water or anything?
Oh, I'm good. I did realize I forgot the last slide, which is the Empower Bootcamp, but I don't know if we should save that for the end or.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So next question is from Hayam. So Hayam, questions. I will hand this over to you. I don't see you on the screen. Oh, there you go. Oh, you unmute.
Yeah, I turned my camera. Hi. So my question is, so I'm a recent grad of web development, and I'm applying since the November, and it's like, how can I know like why I get rejected or when I never hear back from anyone in this whole 2 months? So I don't know like what to improve. Is it my portfolio? Is it like my resume? And yeah, I kind of find it so hard, and so I don't know like what should I look for, what to improve.
I would start with, I'm assuming, after you get the rejection letter, are you responding back and saying, could I get some feedback? That's a good starting point, is to understand why they're rejecting you. So that gives you something to work on. Without knowing your full experience or portfolio, I would just recommend trying to create a connection with someone in that company. So following the tips that I mentioned, I don't know what companies you're applying to, but follow them on LinkedIn, follow the people who have high up positions in that company. And I say this because the people who are in management and above, they tend to, for some reason, we tend to post more on LinkedIn. I have a bunch of developers on LinkedIn and they don't post anything. But with management, VPs, directors, they post a lot more. You can interact with them and build that rapport with them and then message them and say, hey, I actually applied to this job. I never heard back. Would you be able to look into that for me?
Oh, great. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, next one is Sayajit. So I'll read it out to you. Essentially, what are some other management jobs that do not require technical background or programming background? So I can actually answer this as well, but Maria, do you have any insights into kind of like a non-technical roles, especially at Pay by Phone in management?
So product managers, you don't necessarily need to have a technical background. It does certainly help, especially depending on the company you're working at, but you don't necessarily need to have a technical background. your background could be in business analyst, and you just kind of get the additional education or exposure, product management, or you can start as a project manager and again get that product management experience. You don't necessarily need to be technical for that. Another one, I guess any kind of manager, you start from a certain like an individual contributor role, right? So if you want to be manager of the HR department, you have to start as an HR individual.
Yeah, and what I see a lot lately is like Scrum Master role. It's also getting quite popular in the tech industry, like strategy managers, things like that. Like myself, I am a product manager at TELUS, so I can tell you like I'm not technical at all, and I think there's different degree of technicality that you have to be in order to be a product manager. I am on a lot more on the marketing and business side. So if you have questions about like non-technical type role, like feel free to send me a message. Okay. And I'll address kind of a crash question as well is product management usually require 5 years of work experience. Can someone with less experience get into product management? So I'll let Maria talk about this a little bit as well from your perspective. So what do you think about not having, the number of years of experience as compared to what the job description actually requires?
Is this specifically for just product management, or is this in general?
In general.
Oh, okay, thanks. Again, even if the years of experience don't exactly align, don't shoot yourself in the foot. Let the hiring manager reject you. So if it's close, if the job posting says 7+ years experience and you have 5 or even 4.5, just try applying and then see what they think. It may be that your experience may be right on the head of what they need. So they may say, okay, this person only has 4.5 years experience, but it's all in this certain technology that we really need. Maybe let's give them a call and see how proficient they are.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Crouch, when I got my first product management role, I didn't have a product management experience. So if you have questions of how we can do that, I'm happy to share. Okay, next question is from Novera, and she is a new product manager at LGM as well. So congratulations, Novera, you just recently got hired. So your question is really interesting. How has your experience been like a woman of color being in the tech industry? Has it been good? What are the challenges that you're seeing?
It's a good question. And it's something I'm fine openly talking about because I think it's important that we talk about the terrible things that happened to us. So for the most part, it's been good, but I have had some negative encounters, some sexist remarks, some encounters, some really stupid things said by colleagues, and they don't realize that they're doing it. The intent's not really malicious, but it happens. But the way I'm comfortable calling people out on, they're doing things that are making me uncomfortable. But I acknowledge not everyone's okay doing that, and it's pretty difficult to be able to call someone out. It's something I've had to do over time. The first time someone made a disgusting remark about me, I was shaking a little bit. I was like, oh, I need to call them out, but how do you confront someone? And of course I did confront them. I just said, hey, I don't appreciate those comments. And you can never help how they respond, right? You can only help how you react to things. And of course, he freaked out and he's like, I would never. But you're going to encounter some ignorant people. But you're best to just find support groups, find like-minded individuals. There are some people who are really pro-feminist and like allies, who are happy to help. So just find your people and you can just ignore those jerks and those idiots. But unfortunately, they do exist. It's just, you got to watch out for the company culture. And it kind of helps remove any of that. You need to look at the company culture first and see if they tolerate any of that nonsense.
Awesome. I think we can go on forever about this topic that you're so passionate about. So maybe another webinar about this. So next question again from Daria is question about PMO analyst position. So if you have any specific question, feel free to come off camera.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Maria, for this inspiring event. The question is, I saw the position of project management office analyst, and I have the feeling that it is more about business process, documenting stuff, and process of interacting with different departments and finding the solution that would work for everyone. I have a background in project management, but it's more into business intelligence, business analytics, but for businesses outside of my employer. It was consulting, it was market research projects. So I wonder if this background could be considered as relevant with a position like that in your team. And what are the tips and advices you could give for a candidate applying for this type of job? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I had to look at the job posting because it's a new one. I wasn't familiar with it, but it does seem right. It does. So you would have to work with the various different dev teams. So there's a lot of dev teams in Pay by Phone. And we do work on large projects that we call initiatives and interfacing with all the dev managers and product managers. So having someone organized definitely helps. As for your direct experience, that's an interesting question. I would have to defer to the hiring manager, the head of project management, which I'm friends with. So if you want to send me your resume or send me your info, I can get you in touch with them, or just, say, hey, Lisa, this person wants to apply. Can you take a look at her application sooner than later? And then she'll be able to decide, if you would be a good fit for this role.
Yeah, thank you. That would be great. I'll connect with you on LinkedIn after the event.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is the type of value you'll get when you come on camera and ask for the role. Yeah, good luck. I hope you land a job that you would like. So yeah, okay, now Bobby's turn. So for individual who has like traits, skills, background with some strong interpersonal volunteer experiences, what kind of role do you recommend looking into in tech?
So trades. So it sounds like your interests are kind of all over the place. I understood correctly. So I would really focus on what interests you, right? Tech is there's so many different roles in industry. And everyone jumps to, oh, you need to write code to make money. That's not necessarily true. I think I heard someone.
I'll give you a little bit of a background for myself. Bobby here. Hello, Pat. Hello, Maria. I moved to Canada about the same time Pat did. We actually started schooling at the same college too. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I started my studies in computing science, and I did that for a couple semesters, and I ended up transferring over to engineering. I did that for a little bit, but due to some unforeseen family circumstances, I had to drop my bachelor's. I moved to Ontario. I did my diploma, machining diploma trades there. I graduated and I worked, been on a work permit, and now recently I received my permanent residency. So that is the reason why I'm trying to see where I can go into and what can I do, because I have a few years of work experience now, but I'm just trying to I tittle tattle and see where where my puzzle pieces fit the best, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. What kind of work experience exactly do you have?
So in trades, it's mostly manual machining. It's machining is basically carpentry. How carpenters are, what machinists are that with metal. I used to make parts. I did so much repair work. I do have a little bit of understanding of coding for automated machines and machinery as well. So that it's a lot to unpack. I understand.
Mhm. So from your experience, and since it's been a while since you were in school for computer science, I would recommend the fastest way is to do a boot camp. Have a boot camp that's well known, like Lighthouse Labs. Have that experience. Will help you build that portfolio. And also, any hiring manager will see you're junior, but you build these projects. You've had this experience, and you were studying computing science back in the day. Because right now, your current experience, if you were to apply to a job, I'll be honest with you, I would look at it and think, why is this person applying?
Yeah,
If you want me
makes
to be
sense.
100% honest with you. So
Makes sense. You said White House Lives, the boot camp?
Lighthouse Labs.
Lighthouse.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Labs. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lovely. All right, and I guess this is going to be the last question of tonight before we actually go into the next step. And this is from Neha. So does Pay by Phone practice Agile? If so, do you have Scrum Master roles open in your organization?
So yes, we do practice Agile. And so each development manager, so like myself, we are the Scrum Master for each dev team. So we do, some of us are certified, some of us are not. I just did Kanban training recently. So similar, but different from, so there's Scrum, Agile, and Kanban. So I think Agile is the umbrella, Scrum and Kanban are under the umbrella of Agile. So the dev managers are the Scrum Masters. We don't have just one Scrum Master floating from team to team.
All right, thank you for the questions. All right, so that would be, thank you, Neha. That would be it for tonight. Before we go, I wanted to thank you, Maria, for taking your time and really sharing your experience with us. If you guys want to connect with Maria afterwards, I will be sending out a follow-up email with all of the information for her contact and some of the tips that she shared in this presentation. Before we go, though, a couple of things that I want to mention, and the first thing is very important, so stay for that, is if you feel comfortable, we usually take a screenshot of everybody in the webinar. So if this is something that you feel comfortable with, feel free to come on camera so we can do a quick smiley face and jazz hand to like say hi, put it on our social media and grow our community and all that good stuff. So, oh, thank you for your support before I buy you into all this. Turning on your camera. Thank you, everybody. It's so nice to actually see people on camera because it's been so long. We've been working from home for like, what, a year now? I don't know, like it's just been too long. Anyway, okay, so do anybody wants to come on camera again? If not, I'll give you one more minute. And okay, all right. Looking good, looking good. Oh, more people joining. Yvonne, I love your pose. You're already posting. Okay, all right, 1, 2, 3, smile. Awesome, thank you. And last thing, thank you so much, everybody. Last thing, before you actually drop off the call, I wanted to quickly mention a new initiative that Empower just came up with. And this is just perfect timing for me to really just talk to you about it. A couple of days ago, we just launched a program called Empower Express Bootcamp. So as you guys already know, being an international student, writing a resume, a good enough resume is not enough. So it's a lot more than that. So in this bootcamp, we'll teach you really step by step on how to be successful in your job search as international candidate. So we touch on things that, usual school route doesn't teach you, like making sure that the job that you look for, applicable for permanent resident, making sure that you highlight your international experience in the way that you don't have to play small or settle for less. There are different ways that we also look into addressing this type of unique challenges is for international students. So it is going to be a 7-day job search boot camp. We are taking a wait list currently. We have just opened the wait list for a couple of days, and now we have quite a bit of people joining already. So if you are interested in it, or know someone who might be interested in it, please let me know. You can also, I also would send over a link so that you can join the actual waitlist. And if you have any questions or anything at all, just please reach out. Happy to answer any question about the bootcamp. Okay.
Can I just say that I am one of the instructors, so if you liked my presentation, come join the bootcamp and I'll be talking in more detail.
Yeah. So this bootcamp is not just really us telling you what to do. We're really working with industry experts who actually have been the hiring manager, herself, recruitment people, a person from human resource background to actually come and share her expertise as well. So yeah, a lot to cover. I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about this. I can go over it all day, every day. So yeah, if you have any questions about the bootcamp, feel free to ask me or JB on this call. Besides that, I wish you guys have a good night, and thank you so much for joining today. I look forward to connecting on LinkedIn or on Slack. Thank you so much, Maria, for allowing us to have this wonderful session with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for joining.